We have the famous pizza sausage.
Yep.
Ready to be unveiled by Sausage Meister Bill Dumas. Like absolutely gorgeous color, super juicy.
So this is a Bewley pit. Bewley pits are made in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I believe Garland, Texas. The advantage is there's a thermostatic control, but more importantly, with this guy, because I can regulate my temperature between racks at a 25-degree variant per rack, I can start low and finish hot. Here's what we're using. We're using good old Central Texas post oak because this is so hard and dense with a good straight grain that this is going to burn nice and long, but it's also going to burn fairly hot. There's not a whole lot of sap content in this guy if it's seasoned well. So what that means is you're going to have an immediate burst of heat as this rascal takes flame. My name is Bill Dumas. I am the lead sausage maker for Liberty Barbecue in Round Rock, Texas, and Brotherton's Black Iron Barbecue in Pflugerville, Texas. Try saying that twice. All right. So welcome. I'm with my good buddy Harry Soo, who's on the other end of that camera. There he is. You saw his thumb. He's filming. So we're going to go through and talk about the sausage making process, some of the highlights, if you will, right? We're going to go through the process, but it's not going to be as detailed as if you were going to take one of my classes. I do book individual and group classes for sausage making. So you can hit me up. Harry will provide those details later. Some of those little nuances and finer detail are in those classes, yes? But for today, we're going to go ahead and go through the process of making a nice, good Central Texas jalapeno cheese sausage, a classic, right? My methods are a little bit different than some, right? These are not commercially made sausages, obviously. These are made for the restaurant, as I mentioned prior. So what that means is this is craft barbecue in the same sense that brisket or pork butt or pork ribs, yes? So with that in mind, it's artisanal, and I make them with these two hands and with this brain and with this heart, which is important. With all that being said, the sausage making process, whether it's one stick of sausage or 1,000 pounds of sausage, takes 3 days. Why? Because day one, we're trimming and we're getting our fat ratios and salt ratios correct and weighed out. Sausage making is exactly like baking, whereas it must be precise. Fat ratios must be precise, as do salt ratios must be precise, and there are some things to remember in respect to temperatures that must be precise as well. So day one is trimming and weighing out the proteins, fats, and salts. That's day one. That's called setting the cure. And I'm not talking about the band The Cure with Robert Smith. We're talking about setting the cure. Day two is grinding the mix, binding it by mixing and applying any other binding agents. So it's grinding, binding, casing, and linking. That's day two. Sausage rests after grinding, binding, casing, and linking for 24 hours, and then day three, we smoke the sausage on the pit, also known as double smoking, okay? So that's the basic thrust of sausage making. From here, we're just gonna go through the processes and you'll see it as I do. Sound good? So, I've got everything already prepped out, like the magic of television, so off we go, yeah? I've already taken the liberty and skipped ahead of a few steps, right? Remember, it's the highlights here, not the full detail, yes? So we're trying to condense some time. With that being said, here is the proteins and the fats and the salt. Remember, cure, day one, right? Here it is. So this is basically a 70-30 ratio, 70% protein, 30% fat, okay? With an approximate 1% salt rate, okay? So I've already ground it, and I've ground it Central Texas style, coarsely, one pass only. Do not grind twice. We're looking for texture. That's a hallmark of Texas sausage, yes? So this is about approximately a 6 millimeter plate. that I've ground this on, okay? So we ground it, and because we're producing heat, because movement is friction and friction is heat, right? We have to get it cold again. Fat does not like to be hot, all right? So here we go. I've ground it up. It's already been refrigerated and gotten nice and tight and nice and cold. So now we're going to bind it, right? So this was on the first part of day one. We're going to go into day two and bind it and link it, okay? So what I'm going to do, because this is 40 pounds of product, is I find it easier to divide the mix, right? Roughly 20 pounds. I'm not going to weigh that out, but I know just eyeballing it, I'm going to divide it out. It makes it easier to handle. So I'm just going to go ahead and take care of that right now and dump some of this in this tub.
So 20, is it 20 pounds, right?
Yes, that is correct. So roughly 20 pounds each. And the reason why I'm doing it is because you see how shallow these tubs are. These tubs are very shallow. If I tried to dump the bind inside one tub, it just makes it a little bit more difficult to work with. I don't like difficult, so I like things to be nice and easy. So off we go. This is roughly half and half, yes? So, by the magic of television, I have already prepped out or mise en place my ingredients, yes? I use dried jalapeno pepper flakes. Why do I do that? Because these are more consistent. Remember, consistency is king, especially from the customer's perspective. So what we're looking for is consistent distribution within the sausage mix, and we're also looking for a consistent heat level in respect to the jalapenos. I won't get that with fresh jalapenos. I also don't want to add extra moisture into the mix, so that's why I use dehydrated, okay? And for a 40-pound batch, I use roughly a little less than 1 quart. There's no set level in respect to that. It depends on your personal taste and tolerance for heat, okay? I like it. It says jalapeno in the name. It better have jalapeno in it. So I'm just going to go ahead and roughly divide that. Off we go, all right? So there's that. Here's a bit of a controversial subject. Generally speaking, especially with commercially made sausages, it's common to use a type of cheese that's called restricted melt or high temperature. What that means is if you ever cut into a sausage and you visually see a square chunk of cheese, that's high temperature or restricted melt cheese. It has a very, very high temperature or emulsification rate, melt rate. I don't like that because I think the texture tastes and looks like plastic, so I don't like that. I want the cheese to distribute itself evenly, nose to tail, from this sausage to this sausage way down the line and from mix to mix. Not only that, but I like the flavor of a really good high quality cheese like Tillamook.
Oh, secret, you just reveal your secret, so shh, don't tell everybody he's using Tillamook, so don't tell the world here. So everybody's running on buying it now, so you let the secret out.
Yeah, I did, so you'll pay extra for that later.
Shh. Don't give all your secrets out.
So what I do is I just take my handy dandy Roboku, and you can do this with a knife if you wanted to. You could tear it up in chunks. Me, I like to get this broke down into little smaller pieces. There it goes. So what we'll do, and by the way, if I forgot to mention it, which I probably did, right? This is 4 pounds, right, of cheese in a 40-pound batch. So what does that mean? That means 1 pound per 10 pounds. And this will produce the ooey gooiness that we like without introducing too much fat into the mix. So we're not going to blow our fat ratio out of the water because of the amount of cheese that we're using at this level. It says jalapeno cheese in the name. I want you to know that there's cheese in it. So this is 4 pounds of cheese. And as you can see, I'm just giving it a rough tear.
All right, another black belt. He revealed his secret formula. So for those of you paying attention, take notes, guys. Take notes.
Yeah.
You're not going to get this from any master sausage maker anywhere in America or in the world.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm just chopping this up in the Roboku. And by the way, if you got the bucks to spend, the Roboku is the way to go.
This is the from Japan?
This, yeah, right? Anime, right?
Yeah, anime, Roboku, yeah. It has to be, right? It has to be Japanese anime character.
And we got some sake if you want some later.
Sake.
So what I'm doing is I'm just giving it a good pull. As I mentioned, you can do this with a knife. You can tear it up in chunks, but I'll show you the pieces, the size of pieces I like. And I just kind of give it a good whirl. Off we go. Boom. Like that. Dump it into our mix. Slam. Just like that. Alright? So, as I mentioned earlier, this is a 40-pound batch, yes? So, with 40 pounds, I'm usually averaging about 120 links per batch. And I say about because we use 35 millimeter, that's referring to the inside diameter of the casing, natural hog casing. So there's a little bit of variance, but generally speaking, it is 120 links per 40-pound batch, okay? And we'll get into casings here in just a minute. We're just going to kind of take care of this bit of tedium. So we got the batch divided. We've got the jalapeno flakes in place, yes, and we have the cheese in place, all right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to weigh out our binder, okay? And what does that mean? So what that means is binding is the physical mechanical motion of mixing this product up, right? Friction is heat, right? So what that does is as you're mixing it, is that's going to emulsify the fat. By doing that, right, the protein molecules or protein strands in the fat will not change. They're not going to change themselves, but they'll change their nature. The more you mix it, the more the fat heats up, and the tackier it becomes, right? The tackier it becomes, it will actually pack itself into the casing a lot easier and a lot nicer. We don't want to mix it too much or we're going to over emulsify it like a hot dog. Okay, we don't want hot dogs, we want really good sausage. So how do we do that? We do that by the introduction of a measured amount of water and ice, known as an ice slurry. We never want to exceed more than 1% of the weight of the product, okay? So with that being said, what we're looking for is I'm looking for 4 pounds of ice and water, okay? So I'm going to take this handy dandy container, put it on my scale. Wait a second, there it goes. Tear that out because we don't want to include that weight, right? No bueno. So now we're zeroed out, okay? So now what I want to do is I'm going to go back behind me over here, and the ice machine is in a very handy location, which is right here. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for 4 pounds, right? I know that 1 scoop of this, and this is just based on my own experience, is roughly 2.5 pounds. It's 2.34. I'll live with that, yes. So there's the ice. Now I'm going to add the water and bring that up to 4 pounds exactly. Okay. So what does that mean? That means that would be 1 pound per 10 pounds. Yes. Follow me. So we're going to introduce the water. And we're looking for 4 pounds. And we want to be as precise as we can be. Too much liquid is bad. You'll never get the sausage to bind correctly. You'll never get the tack that you want if you add too much liquid. So we must be precise. Remember, I said this is like bacon, yes? Oh, looky there. Are we going to do it?
3.94.
Uh-huh.
6.98.
Ah, there we go.
Okay, nailed it.
Nailed it. Now here, I mise en place my mix already, yes? So what we got is we have our seasonings measured out, okay? And then we have our binder. In this case, this is dry non-fat milk powder. This, right, attaches itself to the protein molecules inside that fat, right? So this increases the tack as we're mixing. But it also dry non-fount milk powder also retains moisture. That's curious, but that's what it does. So we're going to increase the tack, we're going to give the fat molecules a helping hand, make them tackier, and we're also going to retain moisture by using non-dry fat milk powder. It has no taste. If you're lactose intolerant, don't worry about it. It's not enough to make any measurable difference. This is all dry ingredient. This is wet. So I'm going to take the opportunity to get it all happy together, right? So what's the world's best mixing tool? This. Off we go. And we're just going to get it all hydrated and mixed up. Off we go. Okay. And that is just about perfect. So, always be clean. Change your gloves. Ready to rumble. Okay. So now we're going to take this into our handy dandy RoboCube. Look, remember all that cheese that was left in there?
Yeah,
don't worry about that. Waste not, want not, right?
Yep.
So this is going to make a slurry. Okay. Anyone want a smoothie?
Just a little bit of a.
There we go. Harry, you get the first taste.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
Looking good.
That's what I'm looking for.
All right.
So I take this and I just dump it right in there. Oh yeah, helpful hint. Remember I've used water? Wonder what would happen if you used beer.
Oh wow, that would, yeah.
Wonder what would happen if you used red wine. I've done that. That's a good opportunity right here when you're using a wet binder. This is called using a wet binder, right? You can introduce different flavorings and liquids, beer, red wine, sake, whatever. Okay? Good opportunity to do that. Off we go. Look at that. What do you think?
Yep. Now you split the binder about half and half, is it?
About half and half.
Half and half, right?
Yeah.
So okay.
We're gonna marry these two guys together.
Okay, so it's gonna be mixed. Okay, so it's gonna. It doesn't really matter that you didn't get it 50-50 exactly because it all comes together anyway, right?
Yeah, it's all gonna get married together, right?
How many times a day do you have to do this, Bill? Like make this sausage?
I'm always making sausage because I'm operating for 2 restaurants, so I'm always prepping, or I'm doing this, or I'm smoking every single day.
Okay.
So I'm always kicking the can down the road every day. So helpful hint for the helpless. Yes. Use gloves.
Use gloves. Yeah, this is additional stuff.
This is going to be cold.
Yeah.
And you don't want to freeze your hand off. I've learned that the hard way.
Frostbite in Austin.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're going to get aggressive with this, remember? So I keep saying it and I'll keep repeating it. The reason why we want to use ice cold liquid in a slurry as we're mixing, because when we're mixing we're generating heat, right? Which emulsifies the fat, okay? Now we want to use an ice slurry to kind of lessen and dampen that emulsification rate, right? Based on the fat's temperature range of melt. Make sense? So we want to use the ice to kind of put a damper on that. We want to put the liquid in there, right, in the form of the ice slurry as well to help liquefy the seasonings and the milk powder, right? But that also helps us mix the product and helps us get it really tacky. Pay attention to how it looks now versus how it's going to look when I'm done. Here's a good earmark. See that? Nice and tacky. See how that's all sticky? And see these white strands that are pulling away from the mix? That's a good thing to know. Because those little white strands tell me that it's been mixed enough. And because it's so tacky, alright, that's going to pack inside the casing nice and tight, right? So that means we're going to have a good texture, right? We're going to have good color. There's not going to be any air pockets. And that also means that it's going to have a nice snap.
Kind of huffs and puffs doing his workout on the second batch. I'm going to taste some of his barbecue here. Let's see, what do we have, Bill? We have brisket, burnt ends, and a rib, right?
Yep.
Some pickles. Okay, mix that with
house-made pickles.
House-made pickles. Nice snap and crunch. All right, let's try his rib. right here.
And that's a mango serrano glaze.
Oh, mango serrano glazed rib. Wow, that's super duper.
The rib's going to be a little unique.
Wow.
The season.
A little sweet, a little fruity. Beautiful amount of smoke. Not overdone. Super tender. Super delicious. Wish you guys were here, man. Come check out Bill's place. While he's working hard, I'm just gonna continue to chow down on my rib here. Okay, moving on to the burn end now. Look at this, how beautiful this thing is. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous.
Did you put that in a box?
Yeah, that's right. Put it in a box for competition purposes here. Crazy good. Salty, smoky, peppery, all that beef goodness here.
All right.
On the burn end here. And here is the piece de la resistance, the brisket with the little bit of fatty and the moist together. While Bill's working, I'm chowing down here. Super good. Nothing like Central Texas barbecue. Never had it. You gotta come up to Texas. Get some of that post oak brisket.
Oh yeah.
Salt and pepper.
Oh yeah.
Hard to go wrong. One of the simple pleasures in life.
Hard to go wrong.
Hard to go wrong. But you need skill. For those of you who have been cooking, you know it's not that easy to cook brisket. You tried at home and you were not successful. So, you know, it's always about the pitmaster. Never the pit, never the meat. You got to be a good pitmaster.
So, nice and mixed up nice and tight. So, because we introduced heat in relative terms to the equation, we're talking about the melt rate, which in this case, on this decal pat, means in the neighborhood of 40 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. That's your melt rate, right? So heat in relative terms and in respect to its melting temperature as we're mixing. So that's where we're at. So because we introduced heat to the equation, I'm gonna put this back inside the walk-in and let it chill out for just a second while we assemble our equipment to case. And we also have some sausage to check out there too. So many things going on at once. So it's already set up. All right, chilled out in the walk-in for about 30 minutes, and you can see what it looks like. Nice and tight. That's exactly what we want.
We're going to do a sausage stuffer.
We're going to pack it.
Any particular brand you recommend that people get?
Tabletop version, which is what this one is, 35-pound hopper. That means I don't have to keep refilling it constantly. My motto is buy something larger than you think you actually need because you're going to grow into it. With that being said, my product, like this grinder below, as well as the stuffer, is made by LEM. LEM.
Yeah, that's a pretty standard industry brand everybody uses.
It certainly is. It's not going to break the bank. It's durable. There are a couple of schools of thought in respect to stuffers. Some people like automated. I'm not opposed to automated, but for a piece of tabletop equipment, which is what this one is, I prefer the old school manual hand crank because I'm tactile. I like to feel it. And that's just how I roll. So the casings. Alright, we got it packed inside the can, thusly, nice and tight. Good pack, so no air pockets. We're going to load it up. Alright, bring it down. And we're going to prime our stuffing horn. Alright? So we want to prime the horn, get some product in there. You alright, buddy? So we do not have an air pocket. Air pockets are no bueno for sausage. Primed, ready to rumble. We're using 32-35 millimeter natural hog casings. And 32-35 millimeter refers to the inside diameter of the casing itself. Alright? So they've been soaked and thoroughly and kept cold. There's a theme here. The can is cold, the product is cold, the casings are cold. Why? Because we're not trying to emulsify the fats in the sausage prematurely, but more importantly, microbes do not like cold. They will not propagate as heavily in things that are cold, right? So clean and cold is the mantra. So we have our casings soaked. They're in a little bit of water. There's no magic to finding the end. Okay? So here we go, like a water balloon. Okay? Now I'm going to get a water pocket formed in that casing. All right. What that's going to do is that's going to lubricate it, and it's going to flush it out at the same time. Like getting the water balloon onto the hydrant. See that water pocket? It goes right down here. And we're just going to feed a good measure of casings onto the horn. Now, casings are packed in a measurement known as a hank, right? And a hank will stuff in this diameter roughly 50 pounds worth of product. Okay? Multitasker, yes. Off we go. I like to try and operate clean. So I get the water off the table. This is the part of the process that requires the most finesse, because we're trying to get just enough product inside the casing without being too loose, but we don't want it too tight. So it's a happy medium, like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Tight, but not too tight. Loose, but not too loose. We can overstuff it and bulge it out like a water balloon, and we don't want that either. So what I do is, and this is my method, so I bring a little bit out like this, okay? I hold on to it, thusly. Watch my hands like a magician. And I provide a little bit of pressure on the tube. So it's about pressure and speed. Speed and pressure. I'm trying to slow it down here at this point on the horn versus how fast I'm cranking it will determine how much is being put into the casing. Make sense? Off we go. So here I'm holding it. I'm applying a slight amount of pressure. And I like to work in small-ish ropes. They're easier for me to deal with. And forensically, it looks something like this.
It's about 10 feet.
Roughly.
10 feet.
So it looks something like this. Tight, but not too tight. Loose, but not too loose. Okay? So here she is. And remember, the mantra is to keep that rascal cold. Alright? So I'm going to put my tub back in the walk-in. I'm going to grab my rope. Bam. There we go. Rinse, lather, repeat. Watch my hand. See that? Slight amount of pressure on the horn. Cranking away. And off we go. Thusly. Ta-da! How about that? Alright. Goes in the walk-in. Now we're going to feed some more casings on. Rinse, lather, repeat. These sausages average 0.33 per pound. So the reason why they are 0.33 per pound is that it's consistent for the pricing of our menu, and it's also consistent in size in respect to the diameter of the casing, which is 32-35 millimeters. All right. So we've already cased it. Now we're going to link it appropriately. Okay. So the goal is to get it. We've already tried to get it cased up inside the casing nice and tight, which is what we've done, right? Not too limp, not too loose, okay? But what we want to do is we want to get it even tighter inside the casing. The tighter that we can get it inside this casing as we're linking is going to provide the snap and the proper texture that we're looking for in the sausage. So it's going to require a little bit of finesse, okay? In fact, quite a bit of finesse. This is the part of the equation that intimidates most people, but don't let it. I sucked at this for the longest time, very long time. And then one day it just clicked. It's like anything else you do in life, like playing a guitar, learning another language, whatever it may be. It's just time, okay? So, with that being said, we already have a rope laid out. Then I'm going to, this is the reason why I like to have an end on it, so I can work it, okay? Makes it easier. So what I'm going to do is like squeezing toothpaste. But look at my hand. It's like, I don't know. And it's actually squeezing the product in. That's what we're doing. So I'm going to hold it. I'm going to squeeze the product down. Then I'm going to set my length. And I set my length. I can do this by eyeballing because it's muscle memory. If you need to mark your table with tape or a scribe, or maybe another sausage, or maybe a block of wood, whatever you got, or maybe a ruler to help you determine your lengths in respect to size, right? In respect to how many inches. Me, I'm looking for roughly 6 to 8 inches, right? Then that will vary based on the diameter of the casing. But I'm going to set my length just by pinching it. See? Then I'm going to hold it here. See how it's squeezed down? This hand stays stationary. It never moves. I've already set my length. And then watch my fingers. See that? I'm going to twirl it a couple times. Take my handy dandy sausage pricker. If you perceive there to be an air pocket, or if you see that there's an air pocket, go ahead and prick it. Give it a couple more turns. Ta-da! Look at that, nice and tight. All right, so that's going this way. Next one goes opposite direction. All right, so you don't untie this knot. All right, I'm holding it tight on the meat here. I've already set my length again. Looky here, see? Now, hold. Give a couple turns to set the knot. Look, air pocket, see it? Not anymore, there's not. And don't worry about poking it too much. It magically heals itself. I know that sounds strange, but it's an actual truth. Look at that. Go to the next one. Squeeze down, set the length. Now looky here, I had to kind of tighten this one up. And this one has an imperfection in the casing, so we're going to be gentle with that. And we're going to twirl, twirl, twirl. Poke, 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 poke. Twirl, twirl, twirl. Now if we kept twirling and kept twirling and kept twirling, it would eventually get too tight and break. We don't want that. So there's a happy medium. See that? That spring? Perfect. That's exactly what we want. That went forward, that went back, that went forward. Guess what? This one goes back. Guys, here we go. After about 2-3 hours of work, here we go. 44 pounds of perfectly length jalapeno cheese sausage, okay? Now, notice how everything is nice and uniform and tight. Uniformity and consistency is always king, correct? So we have 44 pounds of finished product. That's our yield, okay? And this is going to hang out and rest overnight, okay? And then tomorrow morning, it'll be ready for smoking in the pit. So there we go, guys. Helpful hint. Never exceed more than 150 degrees internal on a sausage. If you take that rascal up to 165, you're going to over-render it. Over-rendering is not a sausage's best friend. All right, I'm going to make the executive decision based on how that feels and looks to go ahead and pull it.
Okay.
So these sausages right here are all double smoked, and that is exactly what it means. These are taken very low in the pit at an operating temperature of 150 degrees Fahrenheit inside the pit, okay? So, but we're taking them to 150 degrees internal, all right? From there, once they hit 150 degrees internal, they're brought out of the pit into an ice bath where it stops the cooking, arrests it, it shocks it. So not only does it arrest the cooking, but it also shrinks the casing up on tight of the mix. From there, it goes back into the pit and achieves 150 degrees internal again. Once that happens, it's brought out, sheet trayed, and goes right into the walk-in. And that's another shock that also tightens, it rests the cooking, that also tightens the casings up onto the product, right? So essentially, when it's all said and done, when we're talking about double smoking, as I just described briefly, plus the fact that when it's in the walk-in after double smoking, it's RTE, ready to eat, ready for service, right? So when the guys need it, they'll pull it from the walk-in and right back on the pit, up to back off operating temperature again, which is 150 degrees internal, and onto the customer's plate. All right, guys, here we go. This is the sausage trio. This is our everyday menu, right? One of these sausages is not like the other, okay? And that would be the boudin. And this particular boudin is brisket boudin, okay? So boudin is a staple all throughout Acadiana, southern Louisiana. This is our Texas barbecue version of boudin. So basically it's cooked rice, it's smoked brisket, and then it's a version of the Trinity. So that would be red onions, red bell peppers, jalapenos, and hatch green chiles. And I cook that down like a sofrito. Then everybody gets married together, re-seasoned and dropped in the casing, smoked. I mean, look at that, huh? Nice. This guy right here is an everyday menu item, and this is a jalapeno cheese sausage, which is a pork and beef blend. That's actually what we're making in there today, yes? And then this is a classic Central Texas, what I call a hot cut, right? So this is very beef predominant. Sometimes, depending upon if I have an overage on pork or underage on brisket, I will introduce a little bit more pork, but this guy is basically beef dependent, okay? So Central Texas hot gut, jalapeno cheese, brisket boudin. There we go.
All right, little Pitmaster knife skills here going on. Is there a story behind your knife?
There is. This knife is made in Matador, Texas by Matador Maker. And it's a very, very nice, good custom-made knife, handmade. A very good friend of mine, Zach Steele, gave it to me. Good guy. So looky here, guys. A couple of takeaways on this sausage right here. I want y'all to take note of something. Look how tight that casing is up onto the mix. You see that? The snap on this casing is incredible. Look at the mix. It's not a commercial grade grind. It's very nice and coarse. See the specks of black pepper? Oh my goodness, that is Central Texas in a tube right there. All right, now this guy, that's the Central Texas hot gut. Now, let's see if we can get this to snap. You want to?
All right, let's do that.
You ready?
Yep. Oh, look at that, oozing goodness here. Cheesy, oozing, melting goodness.
Oh man, that may be
Crazy
too
good.
That is good stuff.
That's food porn right there.
Oh,
I gotta
look at
change
that.
my channel waiting.
And here's another thing to take note of. Yes, look at that.
You can see the jalapenos in there, right?
Mm-hmm. Look at all that jalapeno.
Yeah.
Look at all that cheese. Oh my God. Here's another thing. It's not drying out. Mm-hmm. The fat ratio is perfect. I'm sitting here, it's not oxidizing at all.
Okay, this is the boudin, right?
Brisket boudin. Oh man. Look at that.
Now you chop the brisket up? Oh, is it
I do.
Yeah.
I chop it up with a cleaver.
Okay. Please chop the brisket boudin.
I do it the right way. My goodness, look at that. Look at all that rice, the Trinity. I see chunks of brisket right up in here. I don't know, guys.
Okay, I can't wait here. Okay, let's go. Give it a shot here. Absolutely delish here.
Wow.
Wish you were here. The boudin has that wonderful texture of the rice, like a soft pillow. That flavor of the brisket, smoke, the seasoning, that salt. Absolutely amazing brisket. Let's try this one here now. This is the jalapeno cheddar that you saw Bill making. So juicy, moist, delicious, crazy good.
Wow, that is good.
That's very good.
Yeah, if I don't say so myself. That's really good. But man, the snap on that casing. And look at this. Still glistening, not oxidizing at all.
Yeah. So 3 days of effort. There's no shortcut. If you want to make Texas guts, this is the way to do it. If you guys want, come check out Bill's class. He teaches classes every weekend, right? And on demand. People around the world have come to Texas to learn from Master Bill Dumas. So if you guys are interested, I'll leave the information in the video link below.
Yep.
Come check him out and he'll show you all of his secrets and beyond. He's got dozens and dozens of recipes. Now you also do consulting for people who want to...
I do. Yes, I do. I will consult on site. I've done that various locations all over God's creation. So yep, we can talk about anything. So just give me a buzz.
All right. Great job, Bill. Thanks.